I'm really sick of the hand-wringing in the Democratic Party, honestly, because some of it is fear of change. You got these candidates winning fair and square. And the ones who are running good campaigns are winning. Mamdani, amazing campaign last year.
It's getting harder for conservatives and moderates to deny that promises like dignity for working people and affordability are unpopular with regular folks.
I'll start with you. You're not a member of DSA, not a socialist, but certainly a progressive politician. Why do you think right now there is so much energy in that part of the party, the real left part of the Democratic Party?
First of all, Jonathan, that part of the party cannot be blamed for the status quo in this country. And this is really, really important. I think mainstream Democrats, unfortunately, were identified with elitism in many ways. They were identified with complacency. They were seen as out of touch. That's the story of 2024. If we in 2024 had a vigorous message of change and separating from some of the things that didn't go so well for Joe Biden, I think we win that election, honestly. But now you've got candidates. It helps that they are charismatic. It helps that they're young and energetic. But they also can say plausibly, we didn't create this situation, and we're offering really sharp change. And when you look at the polling, it's quite striking. You know, I respect Hakeem Jeffries a lot, but I disagree with him when he said on Sunday he wouldn't vote for Medicare for all. That's a majority position in America now. Higher taxes on millionaires and billionaires, majority position. Changing our policies in the Middle East, getting out of the Iran war, majority positions. So I think these new candidates, it's not about the DSA platform. It's about they represent actually views that are increasingly where the American people are. And a lot of them are just good candidates, dynamic candidates.
So what do you say, though? There's a fear among some Democrats that they think that the Republicans will take these DSA members or DSA-aligned candidates and then put them up as a symbol and say, this is what the whole Democratic Party stands for. And they paint with a broad brush, and that gives them an easy line of attack.
I'm really sick of the hand-wringing in the Democratic Party, honestly, because some of it is fear of change. You got these candidates winning fair and square. And the ones who are running good campaigns are winning. Mamdani, amazing campaign last year, I think set the message of affordability for the whole country. El Sayed won fair and square against massive resources. Hong didn't win, wasn't as good a candidate. I think we should recognize the primary process is producing strong candidates. And we haven't always had that. Let's be honest. We lost in a lot of places in recent years we shouldn't have lost because we didn't have a sharp message. We didn't have strong candidates. This year may be one of the best crops of Democratic candidates, moderates and progressives. But everyone's talking about affordability with energy. That came from the left, let's be honest.
And de Blasio makes a good point. These robust conversations about affordability and real change are coming from the left. And you can see conservatives and moderates scrambling to match this tone, oftentimes in bad faith.
Recent AP poll finding 41% of adults are extremely or very concerned about affording groceries in the next few months. Most polled say their household have made changes on how they shop. They're buying store brands, they're changing grocery stores, or they're cutting out certain items altogether. Congressman, how can Republicans reassure voters that your party can fix this? Because when it comes to kitchen table issues like this is where the socialists are gaining their foothold. They're crying and seizing about affordability, and it's resonating with some in this country.
Of course, what socialists would do, their cure would make the situation worse. The cure they have is worse than the problem itself. But there's no doubt we have to recognize this is a real issue. We can't pretend it isn't there, and we've got to show people that we're going to do the right thing. And we've done that in the past where we, reduce taxes on tips, reduce taxes on overtime, reduce taxes on Social Security, reduce taxes on people buying new vehicles. I can go through the long list. We've done a lot of good work. We haven't advertised that enough. We haven't talked about it enough. We need to do more of that. Secondly, we need to ensure that the American public knows that we're going to double down on this issue. We need the president who can be a great salesman. We need him to do it. We need to do it. This is issue number one. Nothing else matters if you can't afford to live in the country and life is not good. The socialists would make life worse, and that's what we have to realize and we have to explain to people. This is a really big issue. It's really important. We should be focusing on it nonstop.
So perhaps a couple things need to be explained to him. It is his party that wants to cut Social Security altogether, not just lower the taxes on Social Security. As well, I think that the word that he was looking for President Trump was not a good salesman, but a good con man. But truly, I don't think that it is Republicans not advertising their tax cuts enough that's the problem here. It's that their policies are what got us into this affordability crisis in the first place. What else could it be? In fact, we haven't had a truly left government since FDR. And it was FDR's policies that catapulted America into one of its most equitable economic times.
You know, we have now seen Democrat Socialist in Michigan get nominated. We saw in Florida the far left option get nominated for the United States Senate. Is this what this is going to be in the midterms? We're going to have one party telling us that the Iran war has made us safer and more prosperous, and we're going to have the other party telling us that the path forward is democratic socialism?
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, if the Republican Party doesn't get a little bit more serious about addressing these affordability issues and doesn't get more focused on the homeland instead of wars abroad, I fear that their message, the far left's message, the DSA socialism message could take off, truly. And, you know, I think that that is going to sort of be the defining movement, believe it or not, going into the 2028 midterms. I think that they're going to get a lot of presidential candidates, even the ones that aren't far left, that are more in the middle, to run on their issues. And I think that the Republican Party, you know, I see J.D. Vance taking this seriously, but I'd like to see other Republicans take it a little bit more seriously, because when people get desperate, they turn to desperate options.
What's so funny about this clip and other clips from far-right media outlets is that they can't even actually succeed at making the left seem scary. And they sit there with their straight faces of concern, but they're really just telling on their own party that Republican policies have left people desperate, and so now people are desperate for change. And as Americans are looking for real change, we see that the way that they look at our system of economics is starting to change.
Is capitalism dividing the United States? The Gallup polling firm asked Americans how they feel about their economic system, and there's a clear difference between the two major parties. Let's start with the Democrats. Just over 40% had a positive view of capitalism. That's the lowest score in 15 years. But here's the twist. The survey also asked Democrats about socialism. 66% said they viewed it in a positive light. People in that poll could express positive views of both systems. But even so, socialism leads by 24 percentage points. Analysts say many Democrats want the government to focus on the cost of living. And the fact is, many people are feeling the squeeze. A study from 2024 shows that 45% of American households can't make ends meet. In other words, their income doesn't cover their costs, so they rely on savings, credit, or help from friends and family. Meanwhile, the Home Affordability Index is near its lowest level in 20 years. 100 points indicates that the average earner can afford the average home. Anything below 100 suggests buyers have to stretch their budgets. And in May, the index dropped to 69, which means houses are way too expensive for most people. All of this could explain why New Yorkers chose Zoran Mamdani as their mayor. Mamdani describes himself as a democratic socialist. He promised to provide cheaper public transport, free childcare, and even grocery stores run by the government. Mamdani's campaign was about bread and butter issues. And it worked, but not everyone is so enthusiastic. Just 14% of Republicans have a positive view of socialism. That's compared to 74% who feel good about capitalism. Now, this poll has been running since 2010. And when you look at views of capitalism, the gap between Democrats and Republicans has never been this big. None of this means America is becoming socialist, but it does mean different voters may expect very different things from their government. In the past, capitalism provided common ground for most Americans. Today, maybe not so much.
I think Republicans have been relying too hard on scaring people with wordplay and definitions so they don't have to admit that their system is the one that exploits workers by design. It suppresses wages as just another expense for corporations to keep low. And then it collects what little money they claim that we have earned through our merit as income taxes, never wealth taxes, and as inflation through greed.
I mean, we're just picking a new scare tactic as far as I'm concerned. This is getting insane. He's up there saying you're going to live in squalor with no food and no housing and no law and order. We have that for many people right now. That's why people are voting for Democratic Socialists, because they want government to look out for them again. They want affordable housing. They want to have groceries that they can afford. And I keep thinking about like that old expression that's like capitalism, only a few can be rich. communism, nobody can be rich. And democratic socialism is anyone can be rich, but no one should be poor. And I think that's what they're trying to go for here. And I think that's what we should be looking at, because they're really modeling themselves after the Nordic countries, Denmark, Sweden, those kind of places that have the highest ranked happiest country and citizens in the world. And I think there's a lot of young Americans particularly that are like, this doesn't work for me at all. I have a worse quality of living than my parents ever did. We are the first generation that are like that. What can we do differently? And this is what we could do differently.
Here, fucking here. And let's not let the status quo make us believe that there is not momentum in this. Even Chris Van Hollen went on Meet the Press to dispel some of the rhetoric around DSA candidates.
Do you believe Democrats are making an already tough Senate map more difficult by electing candidates who are part of the left wing?
No, I don't. First of all, Democrats are absolutely united in recognizing that President Trump is a threat to our economy and a threat to our democracy. What you're seeing is a churning, a debate within the Democratic Party that's more focused on what the Democratic Party needs to stand for in 2028. And I don't think this is left versus right. I think this is the top 1% that is rigging the economy in their favor at the expense of everybody else. So these are economic populists. And the debate within the Democratic Party is going to be healthy going forward. In this midterm, it's a referendum on Donald Trump. I listened to Senator Scott. He wanted to talk about Joe Biden. He did not want to talk about Trump. He talked about affordability. Let's remind people that Donald Trump said that the affordability crisis was, quote, a hoax, and broke his promise to focus on bringing down prices and keep us out of wars. He's done the opposite.
And one just needs to look to the relief that New York City is experiencing under Mamdani as an oasis in these dark economic times. And one also just needs to look to the real hope and the momentum that is happening with real fighters on the left that are looking out for the dignity of working people. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe to USDS, as well as check out your local DSA chapter and get involved. My name is Lex Voytek, and I'll see you next time.